What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Jen. Welcome back to another edition of my Sports Corner. It's been a little bit. Welcome back for July 19th, 2019. And I'm going to get right to it. I'm going to be talking about this big welterweight bout between Manny Pacquiao and Keith one-time Thurman. I'm not going to be talking about too much else besides this. This is going to be more or less my prediction on the fight, so let's get right to it. The fight is going down tomorrow night on PBC, pay-per-view, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. We have 4 fights on the main card. The first one between Caleb Plant and Mike Lee for the IBF Super Middleweight title. Caleb Plant, he's making noise. He's heavily favored, so we'll see how he does in this. I mean, I have heard of him here and there, but have yet to really pay too much attention to him. But I'm gonna check this fight out and see what he's really all about. Next up on the fight card is Luis Neri and Juan Carlos Payano fighting at bantamweight. Neri is heavily favored. Then, right before the main event, we have Yordenis Ugas versus Omar Figueroa. Butchered that, at the welterweight class. Now, Ugas, he recently had a fight with Sean Porter, who is the holder of the WBO welterweight championship belt. A fight that I thought Yordenis actually won, but they gave the nod to Sean. No disrespect to Sean. I love him as a fighter, but I just thought that Ugas did enough to win the fight. I thought he controlled the fight. But, it'll be interesting to see how Ugas bounces back and how he does in this fight. This is a very good stage for him to show up and show out the same way that he did against Sean Porter not too long ago in his recent fight. So we'll see how he does. We'll see if he shows the same championship medal that he did before. And then to the main event, which hopefully all of you guys are excited for like I am, between Manny Pacquiao and Keith Thurman for the WBA welterweight title. Manny Pacquiao is slightly favored. He's not a heavy favorite, but he's slightly favored. To my knowledge, he was the underdog not more than a week or two ago when Vegas had Keith favored. So I'll give my thoughts on this briefly. I'll get into my breakdown on the strengths and weaknesses of each fighter and who I think is going to win. So let's hop right into it. So let's look at the tail of the tape really quick. First off, Mr. Keith Thurman. 29-0, 22 wins by knockout. 30 years old, 69-inch reach, 5'7.5" in height. Going against Manny Pacquiao, the senator, the ambassador for the Philippines. 61 wins, 39 wins by KO, 7 losses, 3 by KO, and 2 draws. He is 5'5.5" with a 67-inch reach. So Keith has the 2-inch reach advantage, and I would say a 2, maybe 2.5-inch height advantage. And by the way, the senator is 40, so he's getting up there in age, but he has showed no signs of slowing down. So let's take a quick look at Keith Thurman. So he currently is the holder of the WBA, the World Boxing Association Super World Welterweight title. That's a title that has only been in existence since 2003 and has only been defended 15 times to my knowledge. Now, the thing with Keith Thurman here, he has some things that I like that he does, some things that I don't like. The things that I like that Keith brings to the table, he's undefeated, he brings that championship medal, he knows what it's like to be in the ring with some top opponents, as well as some middle of the road opponents, but more importantly, the top of the cream of the crop. Some of those fights on his resume would be Danny Garcia, who he fought 2 years ago for the WBA Super World Welterweight title and defeated Danny. And then the fight right before that, where he fought Sean Porter, where he was defending his WBA title. So I mean, those two fights right there, big fights. He beat Leonard Bundle back in 2014. That's a solid win. But the Sean Porter and Garcia fights, those are the ones that obviously stand out to me, because those are your contemporaries, the best, two of the top ranked fighters in the welterweight division. If you look at the welterweight division right now, it goes as follows. Top ranked fighter is Errol Spence. The number 2 fighter, Sean Porter. Oh, excuse me. That is incorrect. So the top ranked fighter at welterweight right now is Terrence Crawford. Second ranked is Errol Spence Jr. Third is Manny Pacquiao, who he's about to fight right now. That's a hell of a fight to have after a tune-up fight with Josesito Lopez. Number 4th on that list, who he's also fought, is Sean Porter. And number 5th on that list, who he's also fought, is Danny Garcia. So he has 3 fighters in his last 4 fights, right? His last 4 fights, he's had 3 of those fights have involved welterweight opponents that are currently ranked in the top 5. That says something. And even 2 years ago, or 3 years ago for the Porter fight, they were both ranked high in the welterweight ranking. So I mean, he showed up to the ring against elite competition. Now let's see, when he's put up against the cream of the crop with a Manny Pacquiao, how he does. So some of the things I like, Keith, like I said, he brings that championship medal. He has some good names on his resume, and most importantly, those fights have been recent, or as relatively recent as you can call them. And he knows how to work his way through the forest, so to speak. Once you get into like the middle rounds, even when he's susceptible to the body, for sure. He got hurt by Luis Collazo, and he also got hurt by Sean Porter to the body in their fight. He was able to survive through that little scare that he had against Porter, and he's been hurt against Josesito Lopez in the 7th round of that fight that just recently happened this January. So he is susceptible to being hurt to the body and being hurt up top, but he has shown that he knows how to recover, how to tread water until he's able to get his bearings about him and then give punishment back out. So that's what I like about Keith Thurman. But like I said, on the flip side, he is susceptible to the body. As one concern of mine, one of the other things that I do like about Keith Thurman is that he, even though he swings wide, that's something that you don't teach that in the gym per se, to swing wide. As we all know, the quickest way from point A to point B is a straight line, not a curve going around the Mississippi River and then back down to Georgia. No, the shortest distance from between 2 points is a straight line. He doesn't throw as many straight shots as I would like, and that's me being generous in my assessment. He throws a lot of wide looping punches, a lot of hooks, a lot of check hooks as a counter puncher, but he has enough speed that he's able to get home more often than not when he does throw those wide looping punches. So that's one of the things that I like about his style. Not as good, but definitely similar to a Boo Boo Andrade, who's a weight class above him. 2 weight classes above him at 160. But Boo Boo has longer arms. But either way, that's one of the main things I like about Thurman is that he's able to get home even though he throws wide looping shots. Now to what I don't like, the wide looping shots. He had issues against a guy like Porter, who's very athletic, who likes to throw straight shots, and he had issues against Porter for that same reason. And that's the reason why I believe that he's going to have some issues against Manny, because Manny, I'm telling you, his trademark is that straight left down the Lincoln Tunnel, and he's going to come out the other side of Manhattan and in Manhattan, i.e. Thurman's face, is going to get lit up if he does not, take account of how long it's taken him to throw his shot versus how long it's going to take Manny to land his straight left or even his jab. So he's going to really have to be aware of that. And I think he will, but it's one thing to say it outside the ring and practice it in sparring and training. It's a completely another story to experience in the ring, because there's no way you can replicate what Manny Pacquiao does in sparring. There's no way. There's no other fighter like him. That's what makes him uniquely difficult to prepare for. And then the other thing that concerns me about Keith is the footwork at times. He has okay footwork, but going against somebody with as good of footwork as Manny has, that might show up to be an issue. That's one of my concerns with Keith. His bread and butter and what he's going to have to lean on in this fight is to be the counterpuncher and be first. You got to be first. I liked a lot of the things that Adrian Broner did in the fight against Pacquiao in the limited spots that he did, because even though he likes to throw that check hook, one thing that Adrian does, he throws that straight right down the pipe. And when he did, he was able to catch Manny with a fair amount of times. But his issue is that he's gun shy. Ever since that Maidana fight, he has been reluctant to throw his hands, and he could never capitalize on any of the offense that he was starting to get going against Manny in that fight. Now imagine if he was willing to actually throw his hands. You got to be cognizant of what's coming back at you, but you got to open up and throw your hands, or it's going to be a long night. And that's the advice I would have to Keith. You have to throw combinations, 2-3 punch combinations with those counters. It can't just be one punch. You got to throw counter rights down the middle, not just the check left hook. And then you also cannot get your back against the ropes, because and Floyd Mayweather will tell you this, and he said this in an interview. When Manny gets you on the ropes, that's what he likes to do. He likes to get you on the ropes and throw punches in bunches and not allow you to fire back and respond. You can't have that. So hopefully Keith has taken that into account, and he's worked on that in his training camp. And the last thing that I do not like on Keith Thurman's side is that he's had that 2-year layoff since the Danny Garcia fight. And I know he just fought Josecito Lopez, and that was more or less a tune-up fight in preparation to fight a better opponent such as a Manny Pacquiao. But still, you had your last fight in March 4th of 2017, and then fast forward to January 26th of 2019. That's almost 2 years. That's 22 months. That's a long layoff in any sport, but especially a contact sport like martial arts or boxing. And I can tell you firsthand, when it's been a little bit of time between sparring sessions for me, the first thing that I do when I go back to sparring is really just work on my footwork. I don't get on my bicycle, don't get me wrong, but I work on my footwork, because first off, I'm not trying to get clipped by any good punchers or any garbage that somebody's throwing, whatever the case may be. And the punches, they're coming at you faster. Like, your perception is off. It's one thing to practice in front of the mirror or go against the punching bag and be on the mitts, but when the punch is flying back at you at full speed and you don't know what combinations are coming at you, because obviously your opponent isn't going to tell you that, it's a totally different scenario. You have to have that adjustment period for you to get used to the speed of the game, or the speed of, i.e. the boxing match. And one fight, that's fine, but I would have rather have seen Keith Thurman either have 2 fights against average opponents, or have one fight against a better opponent than Josecito Lopez. And we saw a lot of flaws in that Lopez fight against Thurman. We saw Josecito be able to land a lot of shots. He had a point in the fight where he had Keith Thurman hurt in the 7th round, and then he was landing some punches where you're just seeing Keith's head snap back. And shout out to Matt from Playmakers Radio Live. that was Matt's assessment. He said, look, I saw Keith get hit way more than I thought he would, and way more than I would have liked him to have gotten hit. So I'm not sure if I'm that confident in Keith going into this fight against Pacquiao. What are your thoughts, Stan? And I echoed his sentiments, because that is my main concern, is the layoff and the amount of shots you were taking from a B-level fighter after a 2-year layoff. That's very concerning. Now you're going to step up against not only an A-level fighter, but one that throws shots down the middle and has very, very, very good footwork and speed in his footwork. Man, you better come with it. You better bring the whole Brinks armored trunk, open that whole thing up. Matter of fact, just lift the whole truck up and hit Manny with it. Because if you're not bringing it, then you're going to have a long night, or maybe a short night. But that being said, I believe that Keith Thurman has the championship pedigree and the talents to be able to be a dangerous fighter, even with the 2-year layoff and the lack of tune-up fights. Just having the one tune-up fight. I think that he is still a live wire, and Manny Pacquiao needs to be in there with his head on a swivel and be very cautious. Know that this is a dangerous opponent. So on the flip side, let's look at Manny Pacquiao and see what he brings to the table. So, Manny, he just had to fight against Adrian Broner back in January as well. I believe it was a week before the Thurman fight. And Manny was defending his WBA title that he had previously won about, I think, about 5 months ago against Matisse. Matisse was coming off a big knockout loss of somebody, I can't remember. And then Pacquiao came and took that title from Matisse and dominated him. He made him quit. He made him quit. TKO stoppage in the 7th round. And then he comes back in January against Adrian Broner. Like I said, that was a stay busy fight in my opinion. I didn't think Adrian had a strong chance of winning, but I thought that was a solid opponent to stay active. And he dominated that fight. I had Manny winning 11, if not all 12 of those rounds. I mean, I'm saying 11 because I'm trying to be generous to Adrian, but it's hard to give rounds to somebody when you're just catching punches and you're not really throwing that many back. Even if you're landing some good ones here and there, it's not enough, man. It's not enough. And I don't want to hear about cheeseburgers and what type of food you want to eat in the post-fight press conference, man. Like, that's delusional talking. But anyways, before I get off topic and start rambling, let's look at what Manny Pacquiao brings to the table. So, like I said, his last two fights, he looked excellent. And if you look back to his last 3 fights, the Jeff Horn fight, the infamous one, where he quote-unquote lost, but if you look at the fight, he really jacked Jeff Horn up in that fight. I remember that fight. He's been excellent. You go back 5 fights, all the way back to the 3rd fight with Timothy Bradley. He has looked excellent. He's had a lot of good opposition. He stayed sharp. So, I mean, you're talking about a guy that's been highly active in the past 4 years, going against a guy that hasn't been very active in the past 2 years. You look at Manny Pacquiao, the footwork, the hand speed is still there. The craftiness, the ring generalship. When he's in there, he has so many little tricks of the trade. It looks so simple what he's doing with the 1-2. He mixes in an uppercut and a short little lead hook, like a real crisp one here and there. But beyond that, it's really the 1-2, the jab and the cross and that straight left. But he's so crafty with how he sets you up and how he changes angles. You don't even see where the F he's coming from with his punch until it's too late, because he changes the angles with his feet. And to still have the explosiveness in his feet at age 40, that's what has always made him, and that's what continues to make him a great fighter. So I think that right there is going to be the issue for Keith. the footwork and obviously the hand speed. And then 3, the way he throws his shots. He throws his shots straight down the middle. It's going to be an issue. I think that Manny, obviously, the only thing that I can think of that he has to be concerned about is he is the smaller fighter, and he's not physically as strong as a Sean Porter, which I think gave Keith Thurman problems. So if I'm Keith, I'm coming right out from the opening bell, and I'm trying to impose my physicality on Manny Pacquiao. Even if I'm not necessarily landing punches, I want to get a hold of him, get him in a clinch, show him that, look, I'm here, I'm stronger, you're going to follow the game plan I want you to follow. That's what I would be doing if I was Keith Thurman, and then slowly try to set him up for counter shots. Just to, I got to let you feel me first. And then, once I get that in your head that you can be hit, and I got a little pop behind my punches, that's when I'm going to start, working on combinations. That's what I would do if I was Keith. And I think that's one of the few things that Keith can do, because in terms of the hand speed, that's Pacquiao. In terms of the foot speed, that's Pacquiao. In terms of the ring IQ, they both have high ring IQs, but I would have to give a slight edge to Pacquiao. I think that Manny is the better fighter in this fight, and I believe that if Keith is not able to get something established in the early rounds, it's going to be a short ride to Yuma. I think that, my prediction is that the disparity in hands and foot speed is going to show up by round 4. Once the fatigue starts setting in, once you're not able to put 100% into your movements, then you're going to really see where the natural foot and hand speed really is with both fighters. That's when you see the disparity, when the fatigue sets in, and I think that's when it will show up. So that's my breakdown. Me personally, I see Manny Pacquiao winning this fight by stoppage in round 9. That's my personal opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but feel free to share your predictions and your thoughts in the comments below. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I'm really excited to see this fight. And quickly before I end this video, there's another big fight that's coming up in the welterweight division in September, my birthday weekend. On September 28th, Spence Jr. is finally getting to the ring with Sean Porter. Now, this is the WBO with Porter and the IBF belt with Spence. And you're going to have a unification bout against two guys that have been, Spence has been trying to get in the ring with Porter, and now he's finally getting this wish. And the way their styles are is going to be fireworks. It is going to be fireworks. They're not going to be in there playing patty cake and all that other stuff and playing tag and running around. No, they're going to be in there trying to tear each other's heads off and trying to win both belts. And those are the fights that I live for, to be honest with you. So I'll get more into that fight after this one is over, as we get the official press conference and get closer to fight week. But that's my thoughts on this. Let me know what you think. Hopefully you guys are tuning in tomorrow night again, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific time on PBC pay-per-view. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up. My next video on Sunday, I'll be getting into Eagles talk, because training camp is damn near upon us, if not here already. I always get my dates confused, but the end of July, that's when it starts smelling like football season. So we're going to be talking about that and much more. Whatever other news happens in baseball and basketball, I'll be hitting that up as well. So that's it for now. Make sure you click on the notification bell so you're able to be notified of any new videos I put up, and I'll holler at y'all next time. Peace.